From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, APC's presidential candidate Bola Tinubu restates determination of his party to win the 2023 general elections, promises improved education in the country as it takes the campaign to Ogun State. Will unify the nation, Labour Party's presidential candidate tells his supporters in Gombe State, says no country can grow in an atmosphere of rancor and animosity. I will not be intimidated. Governor Wike dares political leaders who he says have threatened to deal with him if they take over power after the general election.
On business news tonight, United Nations economic report shows world output growth to drop from an estimated 3% in 2022 to 1.9% in 2023.
On sports news tonight, Novak Djokovic delivers another masterclass at the Australian Open to outclass Andrei Rublev in straight sets and ease into the semi-finals of the first Grand Slam of the year.
And from Abuja in the Federal Capital Territory, Senate suspends plenary for political campaigns, puts up decision in the president's request to restructure 22.7 trillion naira ways and means advances.
And in international news from London, after weeks of reluctance, Germany has agreed to send Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine in what Kyiv hopes will be a game changer in the war with Russia.
The campaigns are becoming more intense, the candidates more determined. Let's take a look at the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, who's vowing his party will emerge victorious despite the challenges ahead of the polls. Senator Tinubu said this at the party's rally in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, where he restated his promise that education will receive priority attention if he is voted into office.
The MKO Abiola Stadium in Abeokuta is the point of convergence for all who matter in APC in Ogun State. They await the arrival of their presidential candidate, Senator Bola Tinubu, as popular Fuji artist King Wasiu Ayinde Marshall, K1, is on the stand to add some spice to the event. Senator Tinubu, accompanied by the Ogun State Governor, Dakwa Abiodun, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and other party heavyweights, receive a rousing welcome. In his welcome address, Governor Abiodun, who himself is running for a second term in office, calls on Ogun residents to vote massively for Senator Tinubu.
Some people will ask you why vote for Asiwaju. You will tell them that it's a turn to be president. He was once a senator, and that makes him knowledgeable about legislative matters. He was also a former governor of Lagos State for 8 years, and you know he did well as governor, because Lagos is like 4 countries put together.
The APC presidential candidate, buoyed by the surging crowd of supporters, gives assurances of his capacity to lead the country if voted into office. He also promises a better education experience for the youth.
This election is a revolution. I'm guaranteeing you one thing. There will be student loan. Nobody will drop out of university because of school fees. I guarantee you that we are too smart, we are brilliant, we are courageous, we are sharp, we are courageous. We will make 4 years course, 4 years course. You agree? Will you vote? Whether there's fuel or not. Call your sister. This is a superior revolution. And when I tell you, you know what I mean. You know me. You know me. We are going to go there to win.
With the rally over, the supporters head home, perhaps holding on to these promises with the expectation that they would be fulfilled if the APC presidential candidate wins the election.
Meanwhile, the Labour Party's presidential campaign trail today moved to Gombe State. At the event, the party's flag bearer, Mr. Peter Obi, says Nigeria is currently sharply divided along ethnic and religious lines. He vows he and his running mates will unite the country, as no country can grow in an atmosphere of rancor and animosity.
Mr. Peter Obi touched down at the Lawanti International Airport in Gombe some minutes before noon and was received by the national woman leader of the party, who is from the States. Alongside his running mate, they proceed to a town hall meeting with women groups in the company of their wives. The women present a charter of demands to the candidates.
So more women in the cabinet, more projects for women, and we will make sure that even in the projects, we want to know in terms of accountability what has gone to the women, what has gone to the men.
Mr. Obi then proceeds to Biu in southern Borno, which is just 100 kilometers from Gombe State. Here, he assures the people that security is a priority for his administration. When he returned to Gombe, the Pantami Stadium hosted the rally, where he carpeted the two major political parties for further dividing the country.
That year now, one simple thing. A is to secure and unite Nigeria. We want a united Nigeria. We want to secure and unite Nigeria. We want to remove Nigeria from consumption to production. Because we want you to have jobs. We want you to have a job. We want the youth to have something they are doing. We can no longer stay in a country where our youths are not doing anything. We want our youth to do something. They will come to tell you to vote for them and say we have no structure. Their structure has produced poverty. Their structure has produced criminality. People now live in fear in our country.
The party is also calling on authorities in tertiary institutions across the country to release students to go and collect their permanent voter cards and also vote at the 2023 elections. Delia Moyeni, Channels Television News.
Take a break from the presidential campaign trail now to River State, where Governor Nyesom Wike is claiming there are plots by some people to, in his words, use power against him if they're elected into office. The governor was speaking at the state's PDP campaign rally in Gokana local government area. He says he would not be intimidated by such threats, adding that those plotting to deal with him will be disappointed.
Honey Cocoliko, Honey Cocoliko,
8 days into its local government campaign, the People's Democratic Party in Rivers State moves to Gukana, the second council to be visited in Ogoniland, to solicit for votes ahead of the February and March elections.
Just we passed to me that this is what Gukana.
At the community secondary school in Mogbo is a crowd of supporters singing and dancing despite the scorching sun. The PDP governorship candidate in Rivers State says the people of Gukana stand a chance to benefit more from the state government if they vote for the party.
I'm urging every one of you here this afternoon to support us to sustain that tempo. Support us for continuity. Support us for better and progressive security. Support us for development.
The state governor, Nyesom Wike, asked the people to be courageous in voting for the PDP that has always protected their interest.
This 2023, no army, no way, no police, no more. Now the people's power. Yes, so now the people's what? Power. What is our power? PVC. What is our power? PVC. What is our power? PVC. We use it. Yes. I showed them pepper.
Governor Wike further warns that those plotting to use power against him for demanding a fair sharing formula will not be elected.
If they come because you want to take power to punish people, we say, look at this way. To punish us, we say, Yendeba. Got to go agree? No way. Got to go agree? No way. So all of them, when they plan, say they will deal with us, they never bond them.
Before the rally, Governor Wike had led the campaign team on a courtesy visit to the palace of the King of Gukana Kingdom, His Majesty Festus Barbary Bago Bagia, for royal blessing for the party.
Staying with politics, this time in Abia State, the Labour Party's governorship candidate, Dr. Alex Oti, has received endorsement from the General Overseer of the Omega Power Ministry, Apostle Chibuzo Gift Chinyere. A cleric gave the backing at the headquarters of the ministry in Port Harcourt in Rivers State during Dr. Oti's visit to the church.
My parents brought me here. As part of his plans to reach out to thousands of Abia indigents within and outside Abia State to seek their support for his governorship ambition, Dr. Alex Oti's campaign train stormed the headquarters of the Omega Power Ministry, Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, in the south-south geopolitical zone of the country. According to the governorship candidate, the aim of the meeting is to worship with the cleric, seek God's face and support of the people ahead of the forthcoming election.
It is time to actually change the situation in that state. So I'm very happy and I thank him for the endorsement. He wants the state to be well governed.
For the OPM General Overseer, Apostle Chibuzo, Dr. Oti is the brightest candidate in the race, stressing that Oti is academically and eminently qualified to govern Abia State.
No godfatherism. The problem of Abia is always godfatherism. If you have a godfather that is dictating, that say, oh, this is the amount, then you have a problem. But when there's no godfather, he is self-sponsored. He doesn't report to anybody. You know, like a godfather that will say, okay, bring the allocation, bring this amount, and bring. No, it's not there. So I strongly believe, and I'm speaking to the whole Abia, that I think the deliverer has come. And we must not miss this opportunity.
Also speaking, Pastor Dike Nwankwo, Labour Party member, calls on Abia people to join hands with Alex Oti to actualize his dream for Abia State, saying he believes Oti's ideology, capacity and competence.
We are praying and telling the whole of Abians that, look, men of God are saying it. It should do the needful and ensure, regardless of party affiliation, regardless of whatever inclination we have, that Alex Oti is the man that will deliver Abia State. His agenda is clear.
As the election draws nearer, the clergy charged all the candidates and their supporters to shun rigging, violence, and any act that may jeopardize the electioneering process.
In part two, after the break, we'll have more on the political campaigns. Plus, the federal government says it will no longer permit strikes by aviation workers around the airport, saying the action is against Civil Aviation Act 2022. We'll have all of that in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. You just joined us watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television, Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories. APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu restates determination of his party to win the election next month, promises improved education in the country during his campaign rally in Ogun State. Will unify the nation, Labour Party's presidential candidate tells supporters in Gombe State, says no country can grow in an atmosphere of rancor and animosity. I will not be intimidated. Governor Wike dares political leaders whom he says have threatened to deal with him if they take over power after the general election. And after weeks of reluctance, Germany agrees to send Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine in what Kyiv hopes will be a game changer in the war with Russia. Some more politics now. The PDP's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar took a break from active campaigning to commission various projects executed by his running mate, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State. The projects include the Leisure Park and Film Village and the Mother and Child Specialist Hospital, as well as the Advanced Diagnostic Medical Complex. Mr. Atiku commended Governor Okowa for his administration's impact on the people of Delta and pledged to complement efforts by the state government if elected as president.
It was an eventful day in Delta State as the presidential candidate of People's Democratic Party is on a working visit to inaugurate projects executed by the state government. One of the projects to be commissioned is the Mariam Babangida Leisure Park and Film Village in the Yangba community on the outskirts of Asaba, the Delta State capital, which is conceived to be a tourist place for visitors. Nollywood veterans, actors, comedians, and other stakeholders from the entertainment and creative industry are joined by the governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, the presidential candidate, Elijah Atiku Abubakar, the party's national chairman, Iyochi Ayo, as well as party faithful. Elijah Abubakar officially inaugurates the project, using the opportunity to canvass for vote for the party at all levels, while promising to ensure that the industry accesses the 100 billion naira meant for development of the creative industry.
And I want to pledge to you that if you elect the next PDP government, we will make sure we go after you so that you can access this 100 billion for the promotion of the creative industry. So I want to congratulate the governor, government, and people of Delta State for being pace setters as far as the promotion of our creative industry is concerned.
From here, the move to the Mother and Child Hospital and the Diagnostics Medical Complex, Owa Alero. The locals are excited, and speaking on behalf of the community, the traditional ruler gives these words of gratitude.
Our mentor, I want to thank you on behalf of the entire our people for what you have done for us by electing my son to be your vice presidential candidate.
Going down memory lane, Governor Okowa speaks on the tremendous transformation of the community in terms of development.
This is my humble town. We used to call it a village in those days, but obviously it's no longer a village. When I was running for local government council chairman as far back as 1991, when I used to come to this road, I remember I would get somewhere because the road was cut. It was during the rainy season. The road was cut into two. I'll park my car and trek across and then go for campaign and return back. But today, the story is different.
For Alhaji Abubakar, quality healthcare delivery will remain an integral part of his administration if elected as president.
The fact that I have got Dr. Okowa, who is a medical doctor, clearly convinces me that we will have one of the best health policies in our administration. I'm privileged to commission this facility. Thank you.
Earlier in the day, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar also inaugurated the Coca flyover and interchange, plus the Model Technical College in Asaba.
Commission this technical college.
Meanwhile, the son of the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Seyi Tinubu, has been engaging critical stakeholders in Anambra State to mobilize support for his father ahead of the February 25th presidential polls. For the younger Tinubu, a tested and experienced leader like his father is all Nigeria needs at this moment.
It's an unprecedented political move by the son of the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Seyi Tinubu, to commence engagement with critical stakeholders in the grassroots in the southeast as part of the measures to galvanize support to ensure victory for his father in the 2023 presidential election. Seyi Tinubu, whose wife is from Anambra State, begins by visiting one of the oldest traditional rulers in the state, Mbaku, His Royal Majesty Peter Anugu, to receive royal blessings. From the palace, the team heads to the secretariat of the Anambra State Association of Town Unions, Asatu, at the Government House, Awka.
I have chosen to align with Asiwaju purely on principle, purely on my understanding of the trajectory of the two southern candidates, because they are our frontliners. The northerners have ruled Nigeria. It is time of the south. That is the general belief. And we have two candidates in the south. Very fortunately for the two of them, they've had an opportunity to run two different states in Nigeria.
Responding, the national president of Asatu tells him the kind of president the Igbos want.
Somebody that will remember that there also matters in this country. Somebody that will put behind the memories of civil war and see the need for us to unite and go forward.
Mr. Tinubu takes the same message to the women wing of the Association of Town Unions, the National Youth Council, and to the Nigerian Union of Journalists, whom he describes as critical stakeholders in the elections. At the end of the day, Mr. Tinubu is happy by the reception accorded him in the state.
The engagements were encouraging. The responses were also very encouraging as well. And I want to thank the people of Anambra and also thank the kings and leaders, both community and youth, that we had the opportunity to meet today.
This initiative by the son of the APC flag bearer will no doubt boost the morale of the youths in the party towards achieving victory for the party's candidate.
And on a rather sad note, the People's Democratic Party's candidate in the 2023 governorship election in Abia State, Professor Uche Eliezer Ikonne, has died. Professor Ikonne died today at the National Hospital in Abuja. The governor of Abia State, Okezie Ikpeazu, commiserating with the family, directed that flags be lowered and flown at half-mast on all PDP offices in Abia State, while campaign activities be suspended until Monday, January 30. The governor, expressing sadness at Professor Ikonne's demise, urged all PDP leaders and members to remain calm. Heading off to Abuja now, where hopefully Malkwe has more cheery news. Hi, Malkwe.
Hello, Amarachi. We'll see about that, but it looks like we're starting off with a warning as the federal government says it will no longer permit strikes by aviation workers around the airport. This is according to the Minister of Aviation, Mr. Hadi Sirika, in a chat with State House correspondent after the Federal Executive Council meeting here in the city. He explained that the Civil Aviation Act 2022, which prohibits such an action, has been assented to by the President. Therefore, government will ensure that no essential service is disrupted by anyone, no matter how aggrieved. This comes after yesterday's strike by aviation workers over non-payment of their salaries, which resulted in massive flight disruptions nationwide.
First, we apologize to them, our team passengers, in this difficult moment. Aviation is an essential service. The act has been assented by Mr. President. So strikes and riots around our airports are prohibited by law of the land. And now that we have the act in place, assented by Mr. President, passed by National Assembly, we will deal with it according to the law. We'll ensure that no essential service is being disrupted by anybody, no matter how aggrieved. There are other channels of channeling issues when they arise, but they are not permitted to hold strike because aviation is an essential service and is by the law of the land now. I'll give you an example. There was an air return, there is a return by one of the airlines back to base because they couldn't land. Imagine if there's a patient in that aircraft. Imagine somebody tending to a very serious issue or matter at hand, or business, or a student trying to catch up with an exam, or something like that, of that kind of nature. And then because of some body who's aggrieved, some other person will die. Government will no longer allow that. So it's in the law of the land. You check the FAN Act, it's been assented to, and it's going to take place soon. In fact, now, from today, we'll not allow them. And our ears are always open. Government is open to listen to any grievances, and there are procedures for dealing with this kind of grievances. They should please desist from this. It is wrong. It is inhuman. It is not allowed. It's not permitted. We will not be permitting it any longer.
Still ahead on the news at 10, United Nations Economic Report shows world output growth to drop from an estimated 3% in 2022 to 1.9% in 2023. That's some business news. Join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. We're off to the National Assembly now, where the Senate has suspended plenary for political campaigns without taking a decision on the president's request to restructure 22.7 trillion naira ways and means advances. The upper chamber was expected to examine a report from its ad hoc committee initiated to meet with the Central Bank of Nigeria and Ministry of Finance to get details of what the 22.7 trillion naira was spent on. But the committee has not submitted its report to the upper chamber as planned. Our correspondent Linda Kigbe reports.
Tuesday came and went. No word from the Senate on President Muhammadu Buhari's request that the upper chamber restructure the 22.7 trillion naira ways and means advances given to the federal government by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. Wednesday's plenary session rolled by, and still the Senate is keeping mum on how it intends to handle the ways and means advance requests. The ad hoc committee set up by the Senate to liaise with the CBN and Ministry of Finance to get details of what the monies were spent on was expected to present its finding to the upper chamber ahead of the planned suspension of plenary for political campaigns. The President of the Senate had advised the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, and the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, to provide the required details of the spending to the ad hoc committee.
The National Assembly or the Senate is prepared to consider the request, but we must have the necessary information.
President Buhari had warned Nigerians during the signing of the 2023 budget into law that the country risks incurring an additional 1.8 billion naira if the National Assembly does not restructure the 22.7 trillion naira Ways and Means advances. However, two lawmakers tell journalists that the Ministry of Finance and the CBN have not furnished the Senate ad hoc committee with the required details, explaining what the sum of 22.7 trillion naira was spent on.
We are yet to receive documents. You see, letters have been written, but we have not received any information till now.
What we're talking about is Ways and Means advances, which is actually outside our laws, because the money has already been spent, breaching a couple of laws, the Constitution, the Fiscal Responsibility Act, and of course the CBN Act. So, first of all, let's even see the documents, because some of those things may not fall under Ways and Means.
A financial analyst says Nigeria has no choice but to repay this debt.
They should now chart a pragmatic path, the path of least pain, the path that will cost the Treasury the least, because the law has been violated and there's nothing anybody can do.
In the meantime, the Senate has suspended plenary until February 28th for political campaigns ahead of the 2023 general elections. Linda Kibi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Senate has confirmed the appointment of former Inspector General of Police, Mr. Solomon Arase, as the chairman of the Police Service Commission. The lawmakers took the decision after considering the report of the Senate Committee on Police Affairs, which had approved the nomination from President Muhammadu Buhari. The President of the Senate is optimistic that the appointment will bring innovation to the police. And staying with the National Assembly, the House of Representatives is urging the NNPC Limited to urgently bring to an end the queues at filling stations across the country. Also, the House is urging the relevant security agencies to fish out oil marketers and other economic saboteurs that may be responsible for the fuel scarcity across the country. These resolutions were reached following a motion of urgent public importance by Honorable Leke Abejide, who drew attention to the lingering fuel crisis in the country. The House further mandated the relevant House committees to investigate the matter within 48 hours and report to the House, while the regulatory authority is to meet with the leadership of the House. Meanwhile, a bill for an act to amend the provisions of the Fire Service Act and make provisions for the establishment of building safety measures, regulations, and penalty for default has scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. And that's all from our Abuja studios. It's back now to you, Amarachi.
Thank you, Malpe. Away from these matters in Abuja to energy matters now. The chairman, to drug matters, the chairman of the National Drug Enforcement Agency, retired Brigadier General Buba Marwa, is challenging traditional rulers, religious and community leaders to champion the campaign against substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking in their communities. General Marwa gave the charge at different occasions in Ogumale and Ado local government area of Benue State during the groundbreaking ceremony of the agency's area command office in the community.
The chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, retired Brigadier General Buba Marwa, is in Igumale in Ado local government headquarters in Benue State to perform the groundbreaking ceremony of the agency's area command office in the community. He is accompanied by the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Narcotic Drugs, Mr. Francis Otagbo, who is excited about the NDLEA office in his area.
For my people, the people of Ado Okoko-Gbadebo Federal Constituency, I promised you over 4 years ago that I'm going to attract this project to Igumale. Have I not done it?
You have done it.
Have I not done it?
You have done it.
I promised to tie the Igumale Ula Ijuban Okpoku Bridge Road. Have I not done it now?
You have done it.
Our hearts are indeed full of appreciation to you and the federal government, as well as our distinguished son, Chief Honorable Dr. Agbo Ota, for considering this our area for citing an important project of this magnitude.
Igumale is a major town linking Benue State to Ebonyi, and it is a major agricultural community. The agency wants to increase surveillance on local routes to curb narcotic trade in the area. General Marwa is hoping to discourage more Nigerians from substance abuse.
We've destroyed close to 800 hectares in the past 2 years, and collectively 5,700 tons have been confiscated. So when you don't have drugs, you don't use it. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect is to face those who deal in it, to bring them to justice and forfeit their assets as a deterrent. So these are all supply side. We are also facing the demand side, which is the consumers. We have to face the millions that have not yet started using drugs to discourage them from the onset. The benefit of all those who will use it.
Amen. General Marwa also commissioned the 20-kilometer Igumale-Ijigban road initiated by the chairman of the House Committee on Narcotics, who is the member representing Ado-Ogbadigbo-Okpoku Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives.
More on crime now. Justice Evelyn Maha of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has adjourned to April 26 a suit seeking an order compelling the Speaker of the House of Representatives to comply with its resolution to investigate the issues surrounding the rape and death of 14-year-old Karen Hapuch Akpaga, a former student of Premier Academy, Abuja. The adjournment follows the inability of the court to sit and attend to cases for the day. Karen died in June 2021 from complications emanating from rape. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, had on December 7 last year been asked by the court to carry out a thorough investigation into issues surrounding the death of Karen Hapuch. Meanwhile, trial of an assistant superintendent of police, Drambi Vande, charged with the killing of a Lagos-based lawyer, Mrs. Bonali Rahim, continued today at the Lagos State High Court, sitting at the Tafawa Balewa Square with the testimony of a second prosecution witness, a police officer, Mr. Fiega Ebimine. Justice Ibironke Harrison will tomorrow listen to the third and fourth prosecution witnesses, the victim's husband, Mwenga Rahim, and her sister. The Lagos State government on January 16 commenced the prosecution of ASP Vande for the Christmas Day shooting of the female lawyer. ASP Vande pleaded not guilty. At the proceedings today, Vande's lawyer, Adetokunbo Odutola, completed his cross-examination of the first prosecution witness, Inspector Matthew Ame, which he began on January 16. Ame repeated his testimony that he was not armed on the day, but he heard a noise indicating that Mrs. Rahim had been shot. After his testimony, a second prosecution witness, another police inspector, Mr. Fiega Ebimine, took to the witness stand. Both witnesses were part of the three-man team led by Vande from the Ajiwe police station, who were conducting a stop and search under the Ajah Bridge on the day of the incident. Let's go to Jeffrey, who's on now for business news.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Amarachi, and welcome to Business News. The world output growth is projected to slow from an estimated 3% in 2022 to 1.9% in 2023, following shocks from COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine. The projection contained in the United Nations 2023 World Economic Situation and Prospects Report marks one of the lowest growths in recent time. The report indicates that slower growth, high inflation, and mounting debt vulnerabilities may further set back hard-won achievement in sustainable development. However, in 2024, growth is expected to moderately pick up to 2.7%. The federal government is in talks with the Japanese government and businesses on exploring investment opportunities in Nigeria with focus on agriculture, technology, and renewable energy. Now, that's according to the Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Mr. Clem Agba, who is participating at the Nigeria-Japan Business Forum in Tokyo. Ms. Agba, who was guest on our Business Morning program, says talks are still at preliminary stages.
Technologically very, very advanced, which is one of the themes for this. And then when we are looking at value addition in all that we are doing in Nigeria, then it becomes really very apt at this time to be meeting with these Japanese companies with the aim of unveiling the various opportunities. As we go along, we'll be meeting with Toyota. We've met with NEC today. We just finished a meeting with the parliamentarians. So it's going to be for them to decide and choose which areas of opportunity they would like to invest in. Like you know, agri, for instance, contributes about 25% of our GDP. But agri is still in this very primary stage, and all that we export are primary commodities. So we are looking at investment in this area, especially in the area of storage and value addition as processing. So we are talking to companies on these areas.
Nigeria is said to benefit from duty-free trade on 99% of goods exported to the United Kingdom. The UK government, who announced this today at the launch of the Developing Trading Scheme in Lagos, explains that the scheme will ensure tariff reductions on value-added goods such as processed sesame oil, cotton clothing, cocoa butter and paste, and complement existing duty-free trade on raw products. This will make Nigerian exports more competitive in the UK and is part of a wider push by the British government to drive a free trade, pro-growth agenda across the globe. Back here, it was a carryover of yesterday's negative performance at the equities market as the all-share index fell by 0.02%. Ladi Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the midweek trading session follows yesterday's close with a mild loss. That's it. It's mild, just like, yesterday. See, 0.02%. All-share index sits at 52,599.65 points, losing that 52.6 level. Market cap, 28.649 trillion naira. Let's look at the activity chart now. We see it's lower compared to what we had yesterday. Volume value, 2.68 billion naira. But we have more deals today, 3,552 deals. If we look at the sectoral performance, see banking there, down 0.34%. So stocks like Access Core, UBA lost by 5 kobo. We see the consumer goods counter that added 0.34% thanks to Unilever there. Major component for that counter. See revenue grew full year about 25.88%. So impressive earnings we're seeing with Unilever there, and we see it bumping up that consumer goods counter. And it's a positive market breadth today. 21 gainers to 16 losers. So we're still seeing profit taking, in the equities market. But interesting to see how it plays out for the rest of the week. Maybe some bargain hunting at some point. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Ladi Williams. It's back to you.
Let's now take a snapshot of closing numbers for other major markets around the world. And that's it on Business News. I'm Jeffrey Ozong. Is back to Amarachi for the rest of the news at 10.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Jeff. Ghanaian authorities are investigating circumstances that led to the drowning of 8 school children on Lake Volta in the country's southeastern region. At least 12 other children survived the boat accident. The group was traveling from at Tikagome fishing village to the Weokope community where their school is located. In the meantime, in Europe, Ukraine has welcomed Germany's decision to send them Leopard 2 tanks to fight against Russia. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. After weeks of reluctance, Germany has agreed to send Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine in what Kyiv hopes will be a game-changer in the war with Russia. Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced the decision to send 14 tanks and allow other countries to send theirs too at a cabinet meeting on Wednesday. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak tweeted, "The right decision by NATO allies and friends to send main battle tanks to Ukraine. Alongside Challenger 2s, they will strengthen Ukraine's defensive firepower. Together, we are accelerating our efforts to ensure Ukraine wins this war and secures a lasting peace." US President Joe Biden's administration is also expected to announce plans to send at least 30 M1 Abrams tanks. Germany also permitted other countries to send their Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, which was restricted until now under export regulations. New Zealand's new Prime Minister Chris Hipkins has told reporters that the cost of living will be his government's #1 priority after holding his first cabinet meeting. Hipkins is well known to New Zealanders for his competence in tackling COVID-19, though he faces a tough battle to retain power in an October general election. He was confirmed as the new leader at a meeting of Labour's 64 lawmakers on Sunday. On Tuesday, the former Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern was applauded as she left Parliament for the final time as leader.
Yeah, and the numbers that we've seen today, I think, underline the importance of the commitment that I have made over the last few days to place the cost of living and the economic situation that we face as our #1 priority as a government. We've already taken active steps to address the underlying causes of high prices, including at the petrol pump and at the supermarket, and the government is doing its bit to bring spending down to more normal levels so that we don't add to those inflationary pressures.
Rwandan forces have fired at a fighter jet from the Democratic Republic of Congo that it said had violated its airspace, prompting the Congolese government to accuse it of an act of war. Eyewitness footage showed a projectile shooting towards an aircraft before exploding in the air near the plane. Congo denied Rwanda's accusation that the jet had been in Rwandan airspace, the latest dispute between the two countries, whose relationship has been strained by rebel insurgency. Heavy snow has trapped thousands and left at least one person dead in Japan. Snow has blanketed wide swathes of Japan, causing snarling traffic and forcing hundreds of flight cancellations. An unusually cold weather front and extremely low pressure systems have caused around 3,000 people to be stranded at 2 train stations in the western city of Kyoto. Others were stuck at least 15 trains between stations for up to 12 hours. Justin Bieber has sold his share of the rights to his music to Hipgnosis Songs Capital for a reported $200 million.
Justin, let's get that look this way! Justin, right for you, sir!
The firm now owns the pop star's stake in some of the biggest hits in recent years, including Baby and Sorry. Bieber, one of the best-selling artists of the 21st century, joins a growing group of artists who have cashed out on their catalogues. The move means Hipgnosis will receive a payment every time a song they own part of is played in public. And the annual Festival International de Ballon, an event held in the tiny town of Château d'Eau, is underway in Switzerland. Tucked away in a valley surrounded by snow-capped peaks, the town emerges from its slumber to host a hot air balloon festival that draws thousands of spectators and flying enthusiasts. During the 9-day festival, visitors can watch the horizon fill up with some 60 colourful balloons.
Every problem, every trouble in the daily life, it just seems so small when you go up in the air. The nicest thing is also you go with the wind, you go with the flow, so you can't steer, and that's that makes it very challenging, the flying. The special thing about flying in Château d'Eau is that we can take off in the morning, fly in one direction, and come back in the afternoon. Due to the anabatic and the katabatic winds, in the afternoon it just turns around, the wind.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Dialed in and fired up, 9-time champion Novak Djokovic has delivered a devastating quarterfinal display to breeze past Andrei Rublev 6-1, 6-2, 6-4 at the Australian Open. Djokovic was taking on the highest-ranked opponent of his Melbourne campaign so far in Rublev, but he took command early and barely looked back in their Grand Slam meeting. In her 30th major event, Magda Linette has extended her career best run at the Grand Slam after upsetting Karolina Pliskova 6-3, 7-5 to reach the Australian Open semi-finals. Linette continued flying the flag. Arina Sabalenka outmuscled Croatia's Donna Vekic 6-3, 6-2 in a ferocious battle of big hitters to reach the semi-finals of the Australian Open for the first time. Sabalenka, the only top 10 seed left in the draw, took her chances in a physical 1-hour first set, littered with break points before running away with a second after 1 hour and 49 minutes. And that's Sports News. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun.
Thanks a lot, Ayatunde. And the main news again. The APC's presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, today restated the determination of his party to win the election next month, promised improved education in the country during his campaign rally in Ogun State. Also today, Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, told supporters of the party in Gombe State he will unify the nation, said no country can grow in an atmosphere of rancor and animosity. An Abia State PDP governorship candidate for the 2023 election, Professor Uche Ikonne, died today at the National Hospital Abuja. Meanwhile, the governorship candidate of the Labour Party in the state, Mr. Alex Oti, has commiserated with Professor Ikonne's family and suspended his campaigns for the rest of the week. That'll be all on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night and stay safe.